Hey everyone, thank you so much for visiting my website. I could not be more honored that you're here, and I am truly, truly grateful. Please contact me and share your thoughts, your ideas, your questions, anything that's on your mind. I would love to hear from you. So thank you for visiting. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, and here's a little bit about me. My journey as a writer starts when I was very young, and I love to tell stories, but I really don't think that distinguishes me too much from many other people on earth. Anyone can be a storyteller, and I think being a writer has nothing to do with understanding the difference between a transitive and an intransitive verb, and everything to do with having your heart in the story that you want to tell. I have 4 grandparents that never graduated from school, actually barely had any schooling at all in their lives, if at all, and they were great storytellers. It's really not about literacy. I thought being a writer was too shallow of a thing to devote myself to. All the stories that I had in my mind were silly comedies, and with all the problems in the world, I thought that I could devote myself to trying in my own little way to help change it. My own father was a political refugee in this country. I was aware that there were many problems out there, and I felt that everyone should try to contribute to solutions. What I didn't realize was that not everyone contributes in the same way. And I thought that the way for me to contribute would be to get very serious and study international relations and work in journalism. And eventually I worked at the United Nations, and I've been extremely fortunate to have those opportunities. And I will always be grateful to my employers for giving me that chance. And somewhere along the way, I realized that you don't actually have to be a serious person to change the world. Some of the most moving and incredible works that have transformed the way people interact and view each other have been works of fiction, have been movies, have been plays, have been novels. I also understood from my own childhood that books can be so important in people's lives. My parents never really took me far geographically, but my mother always taught me that you can travel anywhere if you can read a book. And thanks to her, I was able to develop a love of reading. And I was able to understand that there is something magical about the imagination and the reader, and being able to put yourself in a story where you don't have all the information, unlike, say, a Google Earth visit to the pyramids. I mean, yeah, that's phenomenal and it's incredible. But when all you have is the printed word, then you really apply yourself into that story. You really transform yourself. You really find that point of synergy where it's the reader meets the writer and the story comes alive in the imagination. I decided to go back to my love of writing. My friend and I were writing screenplays together. We were having the best time of our lives, but it takes millions and millions of dollars to get a movie made, and it doesn't happen to very many people, at least it didn't back then. So my friend suggested, hey, why don't you write a book? I always see you reading books. Why don't you write one? And I was like, should I? And he gave me a title. And to this day, I cannot remember what those 4 words were. I just remember that I sat down, I wrote them, I was inspired, and I wrote a book. And my book riffed off of my own life. My husband calls it a documentary. It's not, but I thank him for being patient with me and explaining our own love story in order to tell a little rom-com of my own. But I also mentioned the fact that my family is Arabic, and somehow that fascinated the publishers, and they all wanted more of that. And, I had to be honest, like, my mother's from the Bronx. Like, I'm not entirely the most Arabic person that you're going to find. I love Arabic culture. I've been raised to cherish many wonderful traditions. But I thought, if you really want a story, we're going to have to go back in time. We're going to have to go across the planet. We're going to have to set it in Iraq, where my dad was born. So inspired by his own experiences, I set out to tell the story that he had always told me, only embellished by fiction, but which really is a message that he imparted to me and that I feel very strongly about. And that message is one of human solidarity. My family is Jewish, Arabic Jewish, and my family was saved by their Muslim, Christian, and other brothers and sisters in Iraq. And especially a Muslim family, a single Muslim family, really risked their own safety for my family. And that's something my father would never let me forget, and I would never let my children forget. I understand in my bones that we are all equal, and we were really fortunate to keep in touch with them. And when the bad news hit them and the sanctions started happening in Iraq after my family had escaped, we were able to send what little help we could to them. That was really what I gained from my father's terrible experience of having to seek political asylum, was learning that the persecutors do not come from any single race, religion, sexual orientation, what have you. Evil is in the hearts of man, and anyone can be good. The Middle East, far from what it is so often portrayed in the media as being this like hopeless, crisis-torn dumpster fire, it's absolutely filled with brilliant people who understand, who care, who love one another and who have the capacity to live in harmony. There's just been a history of exploitation and bad rulers and all kinds of problems. But let's never forget that people shape history. And we're seeing that today. And we've seen that in the Arab Spring in 2011, in 2019. People transcend these differences among ourselves. Now, that sounds like a really sort of history lesson type of thing, which is why I wrapped it in a fun little romance called Sweet Dates in Basra, complete with a forbidden love affair and all kinds of mystery. I do understand the value of fiction now, and that's where I'm at, and that's where I'm coming from. Most people want to know what kind of name is Gigi. I think I revealed it. It's Iraqi, but what most people don't know is that my middle name is Georgia. So yes, I am Jessica Georgia Gigi. Way too much alliteration. It's just crazy. My name is JGGG. It's all too much. The other thing about me is I like to sew, I like patterns, I like colors, and I like crazy manicures because as a writer, I am constantly staring at my nails. That's a little bit about myself. Please share your story and let's hang out. Thank you so much.